I was asked to refinish this magazine rack. It has some scratches on the top and it's looking a bit tired, kind of like me some days. So I was thinking this is a really good beginner project, so why not make a Furniture Flips Basics video? I'm Anna. Come with me for some tips, tricks, and a fun reveal. First thing, I always wash the piece I'm working on. I want to remove oils and any dusty or sticky stuff. I think Mr. Clean does a pretty good job at this, and the lemony scent can help with any lingering odors. Don't worry about leaving this to dry. You can just jump right into the next step. Now to step up my cleaning game with Crud Cutter. Crud Cutter Gloss Off is good for prepping surfaces that you're going to paint. Use it straight out of the bottle and on any type of paint or finish. Plus, there's no rinsing. You can start painting after 10 minutes, so no diluting or rinsing. The directions say to use a coarse cloth. I used a 3M stripping pad and I'd say that was a little too coarse. A kitchen sponge is tough enough. This is the Crud Cutter result. In some areas, I got down to the bare wood. Here you can see some spots where I didn't get all the shiny finish off, so I'll just go over that again. Not a bad result for pretty much just wiping. I'm going to be staining the top and painting the bottom, so that means I'm going to take off the top. Now I could have taken the top off while I was washing and using the Crud Cutter. I just find it easier to flip it around and move it around with it all in one piece. But definitely if you wanted to, you could take your piece apart before cleaning it. Because I'm staining the top, I need to remove not just the shiny finish, but also the original stain. And I'll be doing that with a chemical stripper, Citrus Strip. I know that because I'm using Citrus Strip, I really didn't need to use Crud Cutter on this top here, but that was just a really easy shot to record. So that's why I did it. But onto Citrus Strip. Citrus Strip is a goopy gel, and you just spread it on with a chip brush or any junky brush you happen to have on hand. It's important to give it a pretty thick layer. If it dries out, it won't work. So you need it to be, well, thick and covered, completely covered. Once you've finished applying all your Citrus Strip, evenly, well, it's not really evenly, just gooped on. As long as the Citrus Strip is gooped on, then you're going to cover it with plastic. You can use saran wrap or a plastic bag. Those are the two options that I usually do. This time I'm using a plastic bag. It just fits quite nicely. Oh, don't get it on yourself like I just did. Ugh. I will quickly wash my shirt. I'm pressing the plastic down onto the Citrus Strip just so it keeps everything wet. And now go to lunch. Oh really, I'm going to lunch. I'll come back and check on this in about half an hour after I clean my shirt too. I got the Citrus Strip off my sweatshirt and it doesn't look like it's stained, so that's good. And I decided maybe I should wear something a little more protective, so my ever-flattering coveralls. But that's not why we're here. We're here to see how the Citrus Strip works, so let's take off this bag. Oh, you can see the finish on the bag. It's brown. Yum. Well, I think I need to do a couple more layers because this is getting the first layer off, but it's definitely not touching the stain just yet. So let's scrape this off and apply some more Citrus Strip. This has been sitting here for hours now. It's like darko, it's like night. So I need to scrape it off, see how much comes off, clean it up, and then go to bed because it's that late. So let's see. Hopefully a few hours did the trick. I'm using a 9-in-1 combination tool, or sometimes called the 9-in-1 multi-tool. I also use that 3M stripping pad a little. I'll have everything I use linked below. My final step before finally going to bed was to use mineral spirits to clean the wood and get rid of the last bits of Citrus Strip. Good morning. morning, I just came downstairs to see how the tabletop dried, and check it out. It's so much lighter. It looks amazing. So here's like a little bit of what the original was. So this dark, which I just have to sand down. And then, well, this turned out great. But the surface is really, really rough. Like it almost feels fuzzy. So I really do need to sand it. I was originally just gonna sand with 220, but I don't think that's gonna be strong enough. So I'm gonna go with something a little bit stronger and give it a really nice, smooth finish. But also, there's a few spots on here that I have to sand. Normally you don't have to sand. Like if you were just doing a piece and you did your crud cutter, you don't always have to sand. I just have some spots that are just the wood's beat up. It's not really from the crud cutter or anything, it's just from the age. I just want to give a slightly nicer finish. That's why I'm going to sand. Other than that, I so many times have just did crud cutter and not sanded at all. But that's what I have to do today. So it's sunny outside, but a little bit cold. So I'll bundle up and start some sanding. Oh, I'm really excited how this turned out. I started by hand sanding with 80 grit. I didn't know how soft the wood was, and hand sanding would give me a better feel than using a power sander right away. Well, the wood didn't crumble, so it was time for power sanding. I moved up to a 120 grit on my mouser. I even tried some power sanding on the edges. Lastly, I moved up to a fine 240 grit. I bought this multi-pack of sandpaper off Amazon, and the holes didn't line up perfectly, so I poked them to match with a screwdriver. It worked great. And I'd buy this sandpaper again. It sticks awesome to the sander. The edges have some detailing that's a little tight to get into, so I wrapped sandpaper around a stir stick. There are many sanding tools out there you can get, but in a pinch, this worked out pretty well. For the underside, I followed the same process of 80, 120, and 240 grits, but all with a power sander. I know no one is going to look under there, but I still want it to look properly finished. Oh, using a leaf blower is totally awesome for clearing the sawdust. Finally, I wiped the top down with tack cloth to pick up any sawdust left behind by the leaf blower. For the areas that were a little beat up from age and wear and tear, I smoothed them out with a quick pass of 220 grit hand sanding. This is so smooth. It's like I don't know, like factory finish smooth. I love it. And the wood is just really nice, like a nice piece of wood. I've let it dry out for 2 days and I'm ready to finish it. And I will be staining it, but my first step is some wood conditioner. This is soft wood and I want to seal it so I have like a really nice even finish. So just some wood conditioner that I'm gonna brush on with a chip brush. Applying wood conditioner is like painting with water. Like that's how I think of it as. It's clear and it just makes your piece wet and it goes on like water. Easy. And you just brush on with the grain of the wood. I'm using an oil-based stain, so my wood conditioner is the one for oil-based products. Once you've coated the wood, let the conditioner sit for a minute. If you see any pooling or excess, wipe that off. Then let the conditioner soak in for 30 minutes. If you wait too long, like a whole day, and the conditioner has completely dried out, it won't do anything and you'll have to start all over again. Because this is oil-based, I don't have to do any more sanding. I can just move on to staining. I'm going to be mixing 2 or 3 different stains to make a custom color. I didn't even know that was possible before, but it works out so well. The Jacobean stain is just a little too dark for this project, and that's why I'm mixing it with some of the flagstone. And I'm just mixing it inside a mug, like a mug that I'm not using. And then when I have a color that I like, or I think I like, I'm just gonna test it on a piece of wood, just a scrap piece of wood. I know it's not the same species of wood, it might not be the exact color, I just wanna get a feel for what the color looks like. Too dark. Yeah, I think that's gonna be the color. Now I can apply my custom stain. I personally like the stain results best when you brush on the stain and wipe it off with a rag. You can skip the brush part and just rub it in with a rag. I just personally like the 2-step process better. I mean, I like the results of it better, so let's go. I've left the wood to dry for a few days, so it's ready for the final step, which is sealing it to protect it. And there are different ways to do this, but my favorite way to seal stained wood is using wax. This is just a finishing wax, and you can pick it up at any hardware store. It has a slightly weird smell, but the finish is it's just like so smooth and so nice, and it's really easy to use. All you do is get some wax on a brush. I like to use this round brush. It just seems to fit in my hand nice and work nice. And you just go around in little circles and just keep adding wax. And then once you've done the whole surface like this, then you just grab a soft cloth and buff it out. The more you buff it, the shinier it will be. It's never gonna get like super glossy, but it just gives it a nice soft finish. And it says to buff it within 10 minutes of applying the wax. So it's pretty much put it on and buff it off. And then the finish, you'll love it. It's so, so nice. And I do this to the edges, and I will also do it to the underside. To finish the base, I've opted for spray paint because it'll give me a nice finish and it's easy. I'm using Rust-Oleum's 2X Ultra Cover, not sponsored, because it's reliable, it sticks to anything including plastic, and there's a primer already built in, so it's only one step. This one is heirloom white in a satin finish. A couple tips about spray painting. Shake your can for 2 minutes. I once skipped shaking and clogged a brand new can. The can should never be closer than 18 inches to your project, or you'll end up with overspraying and dripping. Think of it as painting with a cloud of paint, not a stream from a hose. Do multiple thin coats, not one heavy coat. And your first coat will look blotchy, just like this. Wait a couple minutes between coats, and if you're painting light over dark, it will take you several coats to get there. Even my second coat is blotchy, and that's okay. Multiple thin coats will result in a perfect finish. Don't worry and don't rush the process. Now this is ready to be put back together. One last tip in regards to the spray paint. If this was a high traffic item, something that gets a lot of use, I would recommend adding a clear top coat. I hope you enjoyed this little makeover project, and if you have any tips for beginner projects, drop them in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video and would like to see more like it, give this video a like and consider sharing it. Thank you so much for watching, subscribing, and all the great comments. I'll see you soon with another project. Bye! Plant. There's no plant. Oh, there's a plant again. That plant just keeps living. It's the easiest plant to take care of. Anyways. Okay. Now I can apply my stain. I personally like the stain. Now I can apply this. I just better stop this and restart.